And a man with a Rolex watch comes into this school stricken by poverty and a lot of like trauma. And he comes in with his fancy car and his fancy watch. And he's like the big test guy. He's very important. He comes in, he's in a suit. And the children are looking at him like, who is this man coming in?
He's with the kids?
He's
Wow.
he's
Okay.
walking through the school with his Rolex watch in a poverty-stricken area. And he walks into the room and we're talking, and he points to the child whose dad died of a drug overdose. And he said, "What happened here? He was here and now he's down here. What happened here?" And I said, "Well, unfortunately, that child is going through something very personal. 2 days before the test, his dad passed away of a drug overdose." And he said, "Well, I understand people go through personal things, but he's still expected to do his best on the test." And that day is the day I realized this is not the place for me.
All right, we're here with teacher Rickert today.
Hi.
Yeah, well, we're actually looking
Oh, hi.
and that's confusing when you have the screen here. So full disclosure, teacher Rickert is my son's teacher.
Yes.
And so I actually feel like it's a great privilege to sit here and talk with you.
Oh.
And I don't want to take the time to brag on you, but I will say I have been so grateful that you've been his teacher for he's 2 years.
Second year.
He's 2 years in. Yeah.
Second year.
All right, so just let's talk about your experience. As you said before, you came from public school
Yes.
into Waldorf. So even before we get to Waldorf, let's talk about what you saw there as compared to what you're seeing here.
So I guess I could start academically. So academically, I saw a lot of like developmentally inappropriate kind of academics. Children's brains weren't developed enough to like really understand what was going on. There was a lot of like just memory recall, not a lot of critical thinking, very dry, not a lot of storytelling or imagination, which is what you want to work with children. Naturally, that imagination, that storytelling comes with a child, especially 1 through 5th, and a lot of testing.
Right.
I had to the point of I was teaching 2nd grade classroom and I had children come to me and say, "Hey, like, why are we always testing? We never do any work. All we do is tests." Wow. And I had to explain to them, and this is out of the mouth of a 2nd grader. I had to explain to them, well, we have to do this because the school wants us to do this. And they would just get so anxious, and you could feel that anxiety. In the school, they wanted to encourage kids, but ultimately it just caused a lot of anxiety, a lot of disconnect, some shutdowns completely. And I don't find that data was necessarily even accurate for the children. I don't think that the way that they provide the testing accounts for, culturally for different children, racially, different children's experience, I just don't think it's an accurate reading.
Well, and then like you're sitting these kids at a desk to fill out circles or whatever it is for hours on end sometimes.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's on screen. So they're on a computer.
Oh, wow.
Like this week specifically, the school I worked at, we would be testing every single day for multiple hours a day, sitting on the computer and doing tests. Just 2nd graders.
2nd graders, wow.
1st graders, kindergartners doing tests. And that was quite common multiple times. So there were like 4 different types of testing we did, multiple days in a row with this testing. And children, they would compare the children. If you got to a certain score, you could get a prize. Or if you didn't do a certain score, you didn't get a prize. If you grew, you got a prize. If you didn't grow, you didn't get a prize. And although that was really encouraging for some students who could perform well, students that did not perform well or had things going on at home, which was very common with the children I was teaching, it would just completely wreck them.
So how are assessments handled here then?
So assessments are handled more of like a natural kind of storytelling and project-based kind of learning. When I'm taking assessments, I don't tell the children I'm assessing them. So I'm consistently assessing as we go in the classroom. I'll carry around, I'll write notes. We work together, and as I work with the children, I'm writing down what I'm noticing. So it's less of a, hey, sit down, be quiet, and take a test, and it's more of, it's a natural interaction between student and teacher. And through that, I really get to know where the children are.
I will also say that the reports that we get as parents
Yeah.
are so much more comprehensive
Yes.
and speak to the whole child rather than here's, how they check off
Yeah.
in terms of math and reading, etc.
Yeah.
What I guess one of the conversations I hear is that this format is too informal,
Yeah.
and I'm curious, like how do you respond to something like that?
The format of grading.
Of the classroom. I'm sorry, like because in a typical classroom, you go, you sit in your
Yeah.
seat, and then you look at the board, and the teacher gives instruction, and the classroom format, and then that kind of translates into assessments as well. But yeah, what are the differences there between the classroom structure in the public schools versus what you're providing here at Waldorf?
Well, I think personally, the way the classroom structure is set up in public school systems is a very Eurocentric understanding of what children need to be acting like in the classroom. I do not think it is best for the child. I think a lot of schools, they have that format because they are focused on testing. And this is the reason for such formality. I think we are very countercultural in this way, and it is not a negative thing. We are seeing a lot of struggles with children socially and emotionally. We are seeing a lot of struggles with learning and comprehension and true like critical thinking skills and understanding. So Waldorf rids itself of that system. And we are, again, a countercultural movement. We're teaching in a different way. It is very different, but it is much more in depth. And I don't think you necessarily need that formality for a child to understand what they're learning.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot more retention in what we're doing. But I would definitely look into why we do structure the classroom in the way we do. There's a lot of history on why we do. A lot of it is Eurocentric. A lot of it is authoritarian based. And we've seen through the years that that doesn't work, right? It's been the same way for hundreds of years. We know that doesn't work, but we're too scared to change it. And if we do change it in the public school system, it is one little thing at a time. Very slow progress. Change is scary.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I think one of the changes that parents are scared to make right now that has become so part of how we live our lives is
Yeah.
screen time, right?
Yeah.
Like parents don't know how to
Yeah.
limit screen time with their kids. And Waldorf has such a unique and I think powerful approach to that. I would love if you could kind of talk about the comparisons of children who are working from screens versus children who are, I mean, Waldorf, there's never a screen in my kid's classroom, I believe, right?
Never. So we do not have screens. I think something that's really beneficial to Waldorf and just screen-free time in general is the fact that children know how to entertain themselves. I hear often from parents, well, I give them the iPad because like I just need a break, right? I just need a break. I just need to get my things done. I need them to go off and do what they're doing so that I can do it. Something I find from Waldorf, if you enter in and stick to very limited screen time and more imaginative and social emotional work, your child is more able to figure out how to entertain themselves without needing a screen. I think the need for screens has come from the introduction of screens so early on and the continuation of screens throughout even the school. Children no longer know how to play together during recess unless it is a structured game or a structured activity or sport. I noticed that like oftentimes in public school, we had the field and we had the playground, and the kids hated the field, and they oftentimes would sit in the field and do nothing and complain that they're bored.
Wow.
I never see that with Waldorf.
No.
I see that with children that first come into Waldorf and they don't know how to entertain themselves. They don't know how to do imaginary play. And they'll watch and they'll begin to figure it out, and then they will begin to try to, be imaginatively playing with the other children, and it works.
Well, that's something that you saw in my son, and I
Yes.
mean, I'm totally fine if you want to use that as a kind of an example here of the progression. What you saw is one of the things you talked about is he didn't quite have the imaginative play as other kids, and then that unfolded over about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Theo first came in, he came from the public school system, I do not think he was used to imaginatively playing,
No.
and any imaginative play that came was very like video game based, right? It was like a repetition of whatever they saw in the video game. So it was very rigid. We didn't know how to think out of the box. So when he first got here, he would sit with me and he would watch the other children, very like pulled away, very distant. And I saw this at playtime. I saw this at lunchtime. Anytime where social, emotional interaction had to happen. I think he could feel that difference because he never had to experience that.
No.
It was always, we have a playground, we have a computer. You know, oftentimes recess during wintertime, the entirety of public school is go play on your computer and play computer game. There's children, they're not talking to each other. They're not learning from each other. So Theo, I saw that with him, and he would come in and he would be very distant. And I knew how this goes. And I watched him, and he'd watch the children, and he would notice how they are playing together. And then about halfway through the year, I noticed him slowly trying to introduce himself into imaginary play. And little by little, he began to imaginary play. And then when he first started imaginary playing, he was testing the waters, right? So at first he would try to be like video game characters or army or things like that. And the kids were like, oh, well, we don't know. But here's how you play. And here's how you think outside of the box. And now, like, he's his second year in, and I would never know that he was in public school.
He's transformed.
He's
transformed.
Emotionally, when he first came from the public school, I think there was some trauma there.
Oh, for sure.
And he was so just down.
Yeah.
And he was a perfectionist, and he was scared. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of even depression. And now he comes in, he's smiling every single day. He's playing, he's happy. Completely different child.
He's a different kid. He wouldn't come home from school then and be depressed about how he saw the conditions of other children.
Yeah.
He would ask why they behave this way, he'd try to communicate that this is home life, and then the school's not helping. It's been amazing to see that change.
Yeah.
So in preparing to become a Waldorf teacher, like, what was the transition like for you? Is it difficult to go from that to this, and how did you prepare?
That's a really great question. So when I was in the public school system, I knew that it wasn't for me. I loved what I was doing. I loved the children. I loved my coworkers, but the system itself was set up in a way where I don't personally believe it served the children or the teachers well. I think the system is set up for testing and money purposes, and that is the reason. So that is their reason. And when you're working towards a reason like that, there can be a lot of issues that arise. And there was just a couple times where I had experienced some really horrible things. One being a child was taking a test. He was one of the most, what the public school system would say, intelligent children in my classroom. He would score highly on tests. And then one day, about 2 days before the testing, his father died of a drug overdose. And the child came in and took the test 2 days later. And then we had a sit-down meeting, which were so many of our meetings, where we sit down and we look at this giant screen, and it has these dots. And under the dots are the child's initials. And the dots would be on the graph, higher or lower. And a man with a Rolex watch comes into this school stricken by poverty and a lot of like trauma. And he comes in with his fancy car and his fancy watch. And he's like the big test guy. He's very important. He comes in, he's in a suit. And the children are looking at him like, who is this man coming in?
He's with the kids?
He's
Wow.
he's
Okay.
walking through the school with his Rolex watch in a poverty-stricken area. And he walks into the room, and we're talking, and he points to the child whose dad died of a drug overdose. And he said, what happened here? He was here and now he's down here. What happened here? And I said, well, unfortunately, that child is going through something very personal. 2 days before the test, his dad passed away of a drug overdose. And he said, well, I understand people go through personal things, but he's still expected to do his best on the test. And that day is the day I realized this is not the place for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a very spiritual person. I'm a very art and nature-based person. That day, after that meeting, I typed in spiritual, art-based, nature school. Literally those three words. And Waldorf popped up. And I read the pedagogy and I was like, this is what I have always believed the entirety of my teaching. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Wow.
And it was the exact moment I needed it. I needed it, and I feel like the school needed me, and we came together. So my understanding of education was already aligned with Waldorf prior to coming in. The way we teach was what I already wanted to teach, like how I wanted to teach. I was, not super ready to jump right in, but they gave me training. And through the training, I'm sitting there, I'm like, whoa, like this is like what I'm meant to be doing. A lot of the things that they were already doing, like I already understood it. It was almost like I'd done this before. And that's up to your beliefs and, whatever. But it did feel like that. I don't know if anyone's ever felt like I've done this before. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. But it was a strong feeling of that. And the first year was kind of getting to know things, and it was kind of hard, to adapt because public school, you have to get rid of that way that they teach you. Like it's drilled into your head. And I went to public school as well. So that was my understanding of teaching that was drilled into my head. But through training and a lot of support from staff, I got into the flow and the rhythm, and I began to understand. You can tell when something's working because the children respond to it really well, and you can see a beautiful change.
They're like an immediate litmus test of what's working and what's not.
Oh,
So the training, you go away for training, or what's that like?
So there's a few different types of trainings. There's one in New Hampshire that I go to. It is a summer program, and then there is one online through Sunbridge. So I went to 2 years in the summer to New Hampshire. And it is an all immersive 7 days a week from like 7 a.m. to like 5 p.m., sometimes 7 p.m., where you are just immersed in a co-op, kind of like here, where it's all about community in the classroom, and you eat together and you share space with each other. And it is just one of the most beautiful things that's nearly indescribable. We don't just learn about curriculum, but we learn about each other and about community, social, emotional work, art. We dance, we sing, and it's a really beautiful experience.
Can you talk a little bit about the developmentally appropriate nature of curriculum and how that weaves in the storytelling?
Yeah.
That's a really unique part of this program, I feel like.
Yeah. So children, especially around 1st through 5th, are very rich in imagination. So they're feeling right before thinking. Children are feeling. Everything's in their feeling life and their feeling realm. And prior to like the development of thinking, which we generally see around like 11, 12 years of age, the best way to learn is through feeling and through imagination. Oftentimes there's a blockage with public school because we try to go straight to the thinking. And that's not developmentally appropriate when we look at what's going on with children. So the storytelling really helps the children live through the experience and live within the experience, as opposed to, here's the curriculum, here's a very dry read of the curriculum, now remember it. There's no reason to. Well, I mean, why am I doing this? Why do we have to do this is a question I got asked all the time in public school. I have never once in Waldorf been asked, why am I doing this? Never once. And the reason is because it doesn't feel like learning. And of course, there are some times where we have to sit down and do a math worksheet, but it is in imagination. Like that worksheet came from an imaginative story. So it feels like this is just what I do because I learned about Delilah Divide, Tina Times. We're working with Tina Times in this worksheet. It is never like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? It's all story-based. So we know why we're doing it. There's a reason. And there's a want to learn, like a thirst for knowledge and learning and more. I never saw that in the public school.
I've definitely seen that in Theo since he's been here.
I've never seen, why is this the way it is? I've never seen, here is just so natural. Because it's developmentally appropriate and it speaks to the children.
One of the things I've been impressed with in terms of the storytelling curriculum is that I'm seeing faith traditions from around the world presented, which is not typical in our culture. And I'm just kind of curious, how do the kids respond to that?
Yeah, the kids respond really well. Public school, we're kind of afraid of that. And I think as a culture, we're kind of afraid of that. We're afraid of, because we have the separation of state and religion. And so I think we've gone to the other pendulum swing completely and just tried to separate it completely.
Right.
And we try to pretend it's not there.
No.
But this is the children's lives. They live different lives. We need mirrors in which we see ourselves, and we need windows in which we see the rest of the world. So if we're having mirrors and windows, and how do we provide that? We bring in spirituality from different cultures. We want the children to see their own spirituality represented, and we want windows so we can see out into the world. The children tend to do really well with that. It's already a story-based curriculum, so it goes along with the story and imagination and the living into. And they look forward to the celebrations we have at school.
Oh my gosh.
And they ask all the time, when is this? When is that? So it's a very beautiful and rich experience. It's not like where you might see we sit down, we read a book and do a paper on Kwanzaa, right?
Yeah.
We are living these traditions. I mean, what is better to make a child culturally aware if you are living and doing those traditions in your classroom with your friends and your family? I mean, there's no better way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So two of the things I really want to make sure we touch on here is the amount of outdoor time and unstructured play that kids get here. I think a lot of parents hear unstructured play and they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Can you talk about that and the value of that?
Absolutely. So first through second, we have 3 different playtimes, 3 recesses. We come in with a recess, but it's not very long. So we come in, they go straight to the play yard instead of sitting in the classroom and, staying quiet until the lesson starts. We play for about 15 minutes, and then we come to the classroom. That's when the instruction starts. Then we have a snack, and we play again for about 15 more minutes. And then we have lunch, and then we play again for 15 to 30, depending on how quickly they eat. Some kids eat really quickly. And then for first through second, we have end of the day playtime, which is about 30 minutes of unstructured play. So for those children, people get really worried about unstructured play. They get worried about the children are going to argue. What are they learning? There's no point. This is a waste of time. I heard that often in public school. Any time that isn't instructional is a waste of your time. Every single moment needs to be instructional time. What is the issue? They're not learning socially, emotionally.
Yeah.
They're not learning how to really problem solve, like really problem solve. Sure, you can give them a paper and have them problem solve, but they're not learning to really, in their life, with their community, problem solve. They're not learning how to communicate. You can sit down and show them a video about what empathy means. That's not going to reach them. They need opportunities consistently to show and feel empathy. And that is what we provide them. Imaginative play, consistently imaginative play, community building. There is so much that comes from play. And because the curriculum is story-based and an imaginative-based, guess what they're doing out there?
I was going to ask if the curriculum makes its way into the play yard.
They're playing out the curriculum. Last year, we did Tina Times, Delilah Divide, Gnome Plus, and Gnome Minus. And you know what they did for half the year? They were the gnomes. And for Halloween, I asked them what they wanted to do. They wanted to be the math gnomes. I mean, you don't see that in public school.
That's the proof right there.
You don't see that. I want to be a Minecraft guy. I want to be a whatever, How to Tame Your Dragon guy. They were like, let's be the gnomes. They all dressed up like the gnomes. We played math games, for goodness sake. They were so excited.
That's where it's at. That's how you know.
I mean, all the time. And they are singing curriculum songs. They are reading for fun. I have to tell my children, stop reading, go play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
because
Theo.
they love reading. You don't see that in public school.
Yeah.
Not often. Some children are naturally adept. But I have to okay, it's time to go play. And then they'll go play and it's fine. But you don't see that.
There's so much that I could say to this, just like the social workings and like learning how to get along with what we've
Yes.
seen in our kids from coming here and having that opportunity, which I feel like is such an advancement compared to peers outside of something like this. Run strong time here. I got to have you talk about the teacher following the students.
Yes.
This feels like one of the most
So
valuable
important.
things. Yeah,
Yes,
please
it's
talk
so
about this.
important. Oftentimes we see in school systems, we give a child to a teacher for a year, then they go to a different classroom. Sometimes we see them grade up. Maybe they're with the kids for 2 years. That's generally it. For here, we go through first all the way through 8th grade. And it's such a difference. It is, it's beautiful. Even as a teacher, it's beautiful. When you're in a public school, you get to know a child. You figure out what works with the child. You figure out how to talk, how to act, what their needs are academically and socially and emotionally. And as soon as you unlock everything that you need, you give them away. And you can speak to another teacher and say, this is what works, this is what doesn't work, here's where they are, and put them on a little graph like we used to, and show them the data, right? It's not the same.
Right.
The teacher can try to recreate what you've created, but there's something missing, that relationship. And you can try, when I sat in college and got my degree in education, I thought, oh, I'm ready. My first year teaching public school, completely different. It's all through experience. So I can sit there and tell the teacher, here's what you don't do. And that looks great on paper. But when you get in there, it is not the same thing. There's a disconnect. With these children, I learn, and of course children change, but I learn throughout the year who they are, what they need, what they don't need, academically, socially, emotionally. There's a relationship built. There's a stability that you don't get from public school that children need so much.
Yeah.
Those attachment styles are going to be much healthier because they are followed by not just their parents or whoever the adult is that's raising them, but consistently with an adult that they have built a healthy, loving relationship with. Now we have more adults on our side. I have an adult that I know cares about me and knows me and is with me at school and at home.
Yeah. Yeah. And us as families, like getting
Yes.
to know you and being connected and seeing that through line, relationships, like it's all so valuable. It's all so valuable. So what are maybe top 3 to 5 things you've done with the kids this year?
Oh, top 3
Yeah.
to 5. Okay, well, I'll have to say our Hill and Hollow trip.
Oh, yeah. Talk about this real quick. Just
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we take the kids to a farm to go camping. It's to build independence and to figure out where our food comes from and what does will work feel like, right, within you. It was the most beautiful thing. So they're working with animals. They're feeding chickens. They're learning how to grow mushrooms and logs, which I know you love. They're feeding horses. They're taking care of, they're nurturing. They're showing how to take care of animals, how to take care of a farm. We're eating together. We're washing dishes. And it was just the most beautiful experience. Children that once might have anxiety about being alone are now so much more confident. Children that were already confident are learning, oh, well, there's a lot to life, so there's more to learn. And I'll tell you about one specific experience at the camping trip that I thought was the most beautiful thing. So in one side, we are sawing wood, and the kids are really focused. And then on the other side, I look over, and children are doing interpretive dances, and the sun is setting, and it is golden hour, and there are flowers in the field, and they're sawing here, and they're interpretive dancing over there. And I just thought, this is the most beautiful Waldorf thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just thought, wow, this is special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It changed Theo. He
Yeah.
was, it's
Oh,
an
yeah.
initiation.
It is an
and we are
initiation.
missing that in our culture.
Oh, yes, big time. America, certainly. We have a lot of missed opportunities. Yeah. Let's see. I would say the second thing is our play, which is currently what we're doing. This is the first time they've had lines, and I've really seen them, especially after the trip, step up into those roles, and the confidence they show and the ability to act because of what we do in the classroom is just unbelievable. And they've really taken initiation, and I'm like, I'm trying to like step back. I'm like, okay, it's their time. It's something you don't see. I would say there's just so much. Shelter building unit.
Okay.
Yeah. They were creating these shelters, and I could go on for a very long time, but they chose an indigenous shelter from around the world. They had to build a miniature structure of it. They had to figure out like stability. They did their own research. They wrote their own paper. They did their own thing in their main lesson book, and then they had to build it. A lot of problem solving, a lot of learning, a lot of teamwork, being resourceful. And then what was that, 3?
That was 3.
That was 3.
I'm going to say chickens. Because
okay, I forgot about our chickens.
You had chickens in the classroom.
How could I forget about we have chickens in our classroom.
That's so cool.
And it's like such a nurturing like gesture, right? So again, that social emotional, like hitting on that empathy, the ability, the responsibility to take care of another living being, the understanding of like, it's not just about me. There are other living beings, and I can give part of myself to this living being in a way that is loving. I think that was really beautiful as well.
I could talk for so long with you.
I know.
Did y'all, with the chickens, did y'all talk about food systems and like this can be food?
We talked about food systems. We talked about the life of like from egg to chicken, the life cycle of egg to chicken. We talked about a lot.
Yeah,
there.
I'm sure. It's just like that disconnect from like this is an animal that we nurture and then it gives us life where it can, you know.
And we talked a lot about that at Fox Hollow too on our camping trip.
Okay.
The connection of where does our food come from, right? It doesn't appear in a grocery store.
Right.
It is a lot of work that we put energy into so the energy can come back to us to give and take. You know?
That feels like one of the big lessons here at Waldorf, you know, because I do want parents to know that your investment in the school, not just monetarily, but time and energy, is also, it's going to pay off in your home and in your child's life. So thank you so much for your time. Maybe we can sit down again and have another conversation.
Yes, I would love to.
There's more, I'm sure.
Oh, I could not stop bragging, and how everywhere I go, I tell everybody how much I love my job and how beautiful. You just have to experience it.
Absolutely.
It's
Come experience it. Come
and
check out Waldorf.
Come check out Waldorf.